Good morning. So today on this live, I'm going to be talking about this quirky topic, the money elephant in the digital room. So obviously we're slowly coming out of COVID, although it's still raging across other parts of the world. And I think something to remember, some of the things I've learned about money is that we've discovered that we can lose our income really quickly. For many of us, we've probably been taking that for granted for a while. And in the blink of an eye, the sweep of a virus grabs our income, so many people out of work. So we recognize that, money is a fragile thing. It can be here 1 minute and it can be gone the next. The other thing I learned about money is that I was spending, doing a lot of frivolous spending. And I think a lot of people have discovered that. I've certainly spoken to some friends and they were saying how they have so much money left now because they're not spending nowhere near as much as what they used to. So that's an interesting thing to discover that we don't need as much as we think we need. We've been in lockdown. And certainly within our household, we were looking at the bills the other day and it was mostly around spending money on food. All the other frivolous spending, the clothes, the shoes, the this, the that, we just don't need to spend that money. And we discovered something is that we're really frittering away money and there's a lot of frivolous spending going on. So that's one of the learnings for us around money. But I want to talk about money in terms of why it's important to manage money well. So here's a couple of tips around managing money well and using it towards your future. Because obviously we've discovered how quickly and how fragile our jobs are, our careers are. So some tips on managing money, on using money for yourself. So the first tip, the most basic tip around money is to take an honest inventory on what you're spending your money on what you've been spending your money on. And the best way to do that is to start a budget, to use a simple budget. You can use an Excel spreadsheet and take an inventory of income, whatever sources your income come from, and your expenses. So I, for example, in my personal struggle, I want to share a quick story. I had a personal struggle, a major financial crisis when I was pregnant with my daughter. 4 months pregnant with my daughter, my relationship ended and I was left in a financial mess and had to take a look at the money that I'd been spending or how I'd been frittering away money, because I was left with $45,000 worth of debt and I had no idea how I was going to pay that when I was going on maternity leave. Income was going to slow down, was going to stop. So I had no idea how I was going to get through that time. And so one of the things I had to do was take an honest inventory of what I was spending my money on versus what income was coming in. And back then, they were only offering that $4,000 baby bonus. And that was it. My income, I was getting maternity leave income, but certainly at a much reduced rate to what I was earning. So, I had to work that out. I had to start tracking a budget. But it was one of the best things I did for myself because I started to see where I was indulging in frivolous spending, and what I needed to do was figure out how I was going to save money so I could make more money. And I needed to channel the money into my learning, into my upskilling, into my development if I wanted to create a new job. So this leads me to the second point. The more you learn, the more you earn. This is a quote by Warren Buffett. So now that you've discovered that you don't need to spend so much money on frivolous things, as we've all discovered in during this COVID time. Here's a time where you can invest your money. You can redirect your spending and invest your money in yourself. If you're wanting to create a future-proof career, a future-proof job, it is going to take some investment of money, whether it's in upskilling or whether it's in getting a professional to help you position yourself, because the market has suddenly become very tight. So if you're needing to position yourself, you need to consider using a professional. Documents have to be written a certain way. LinkedIn has to be written a certain way to shine. And so now's the time when you want to think about having money to invest in yourself. And so some of the money that we've been frivolously spending and that we've discovered we don't really need anymore. We don't need to spend that much. Many of us have discovered that there's so many things we can do without, that we can live on a lot less than we think. My advice is that now you want to start channeling some of that, money that you were spending on lunches out and, so many dinners out and all of those things. Use that money to upskill. Use that money to invest in online courses. Use that money to invest in courses that are focused on transferable skills. Invest, because the knowledge and skills remain with you regardless of the economy. So, the economy will pick up, and it may go up and down as economies do. They go up and down. But even if they go up and down, your knowledge and your skills, what you invest your money in terms of learning, will remain with you regardless of the economy. So the other point I want to make about money is there is a cheap way to gain knowledge, and that is through books. So take some of the money that you were spending on whatnot and invest it in books. Books are a relatively cheap way to gain knowledge, to learn about perspective. So invest in books that are about motivation, that are about personal growth, that are about education. The benefits of it is that it's a cheap way to gain knowledge, and it also develops your muscle of thinking for yourself. So often we look for other people to provide answers for us, but when you go to books, it comes to someone providing information from their perspective, but you have an opportunity to think through that information and to make your own decisions, to come to your own decisions, or to perceive that information or to use it in the way that serves you best. So the 3 tips around money and where we can direct it is to take an honest inventory of your spending, and you do that simply by tracking a budget, to understand the more you learn, the more you earn, some wise wisdom from Warren Buffett, and to direct your money. If you don't have loads to spare, another way to gain great knowledge is through investing in some books. It develops your muscle for thinking for yourself, and as I said, a cheap way to gain knowledge and to learn at your own pace. So I have a list of books. They are evergreen books. I call them evergreen books because I've read them over and over, and they were the books that helped me get out of my financial mess and onto my success. They're my top books on money management, finances, how to grow wealth. And so I invite you to DM me or to comment below the video if you would love to receive that list of my top books that have helped me go from mess to success. So in summary, I just want to remind you and even remind myself of the lesson learned through COVID. We can lose our income in the blink of an eye. It's important to manage money wisely. 3 ways you can track and invest your money or redirect your money. First, understand where you're spending, so track a budget. Second, remember that the more you learn, the more you earn. So invest in knowledge, invest in yourself. Redirect what you may have used for frivolous spending to spending on knowledge, on upskilling, also thinking about investing in coaching or someone to help position you so that you can future-proof your career. And then spend money on books. That's a relatively cheap way to gain knowledge, to grow your thinking for yourself muscle, reading books and then interpreting, grabbing action items, writing notes down on key points that you learn. And don't forget, if you would like to receive my list of my top finance books, which got me out of the mess I was in financially to the success, and which are called evergreen books because they're still relevant and I still read them regularly. I have a handful of books, about 10 to 15 books that are my evergreen finance success books. Happy to share that with you. DM me or comment below the video and I will send that to you. I wish you abundance, and I want to address this money issue because so many people, my clients, when they come to me, I ask them, why has it taken you so long? You clearly have wanted to make a change for a while. You're not happy where you are, or in some cases now people have been forced out of work. Many of them have had that money issue. They haven't felt that they're worth investing in. Some of them simply haven't had the money. Many of them haven't taken inventory of where they're actually spending their money and where they need to redirect to be able to future-proof careers, to be able to future-proof their ongoing income. And so that's why this is the first, this live gets straight to the money elephant in the digital room. We don't like talking about money. We don't like talking about finances, but it's really important to do that, to acknowledge where we are financially and to understand that there is always a way to grow yourself. It's about being honest about where you are financially and being honest about your spending so you can direct it towards the things that's going to give you long-term success. Have a wonderful day, and I'm wishing you lots of financial abundance.